You ever live in one of those neighborhoods where someone thinks they're the sheriff, mayor, and judge all rolled into one? That's our HOA president, Karen. Blonde bob, clipboard in hand, and a bad habit of patrolling like she's running a military base. If your grass is half an inch too high, or your garbage can is visible for more than 10 minutes, you're getting a notice. Everyone just tries to stay out of her way. Now, I'm a former military guy, and I work in vehicle logistics. For a federal law enforcement task force, from time to time, I'm assigned certain vehicles for field operations unmarked. High security and absolutely government property. On one particular week, I had to bring home one of our task force Jeeps. It was matte black, plain looking. No logos, just parked in my own driveway behind a chain and high security lock. Completely legal, completely on my property. Next morning, I step outside to leave for a rotation, and the Jeep is gone. Not towed by the city, gone. Like someone had broken the lock, stolen the whole vehicle, and left no note.
The heavy-duty
Lock I'd used, sitting on the driveway, cut clean through. I look across the street, and there's Karen, standing in her driveway, arms folded, sipping coffee like she just handled a major crisis. I walk over, calm but firm. Karen, did you see a tow truck come through last night? She gives me this smug little smile and says, yes, I had it removed. That kind of vehicle is not approved under HOA rules. It's intimidating and doesn't fit the community look. I blinked. You cut my lock and had a federal vehicle towed without notice? Her response? I don't care whose it is. It's an eyesore, and the chain was a hazard to neighborhood children. I don't lose. My temper easily years of military discipline, but I knew this was serious. Like felony, level serious. I excused myself, went inside, and made one phone call. Not to local police. Not to a tow yard. I called my supervisor at the federal agency. The Jeep's been towed. Lock's been cut. Ow. No authorization, I said. Silence. Then he replied, you're kidding. That's an active surveillance asset. Within 20 minutes, 3 unmarked government vehicles rolled into our cul-de-sac. 2 agents started canvassing neighbors, asking for security camera footage. A third tracked the Jeep's location via its onboard system. It had been taken to a private impound lot across town under instructions from Karen, who had signed a bogus violation form claiming it was abandoned. The agents drove straight to the tow yard, flashed their federal credentials, and got the Jeep released on the spot. The lot manager was pale. Turns out he thought he was just doing an HOA pickup. What none of them realized was that tampering with or towing a federal asset, especially without a warrant or notice, is a serious offense. Meanwhile, back at home, Karen's getting nervous. Word had spread, and neighbors started gathering on porches. She came storming over, yelling that I should have labeled it properly and that no one told her it was federal, I reminded her calmly that it specifically mentioned its status the week before when she left one of her passive-aggressive warning letters on my mailbox. That afternoon, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. The federal agents presented a redacted version of their report, just enough to prove Karen's interference had compromised a classified operation. She tried to defend herself, but the board wasn't having it. They suspended her from her HOA duties immediately and opened an investigation into her abuse of power, and the cherry on top, she was hit with a formal citation for tampering with federal property and causing damage. The lock alone cost the agency nearly $1,000. A civil suit followed, and then came the restraining order. She's now legally prohibited from going within 100 feet of any government vehicle or task force personnel. 2 weeks later, I parked that same Jeep in my driveway again. New lock, brighter chain, and a very visible sign that read federal property, do not touch. Karen won't even look in my direction now. A few neighbors stopped by afterward, thanking me for finally putting her in her place. One guy said she tried to get his American flag taken down because it wasn't the correct size. Safe to say the neighborhood's been a lot quieter. Since then, no more surprise citations, no more compliance visits, and no more HOA drama, at least, not from Karen. The moral of the story? If you're going to mess with someone's property, make sure you know what you're dealing with. Karen thought she was protecting the neighborhood. In reality, she came one bad decision away from federal prison. Let me know if you want a thumbnail idea, video hook, or voiceover script to go with it. You said, HOA Karen cut my lock to snatch my Jeep. Didn't know it belonged to a police task force. Rewrite this story script 30 minutes according to USA. People in paragraphs, ChatGPT said, certainly. Here's a 30-minute story script for HOA Karen. Cut my lock to snatch my Jeep. Didn't know it belonged to a police task force. Written in narrative paragraph format to resonate with a US audience, this version goes deeper into character development, neighborhood politics, and the legal consequences, making it suitable for a longer video or dramatic read. I live in a suburban community that on the surface looks picture-perfect, manicured lawns, matching mailboxes, and streets named after trees. But underneath that polished exterior is a power struggle that many American homeowners know too well, the HOA. And leading ours is Karen. Every neighborhood has one. But ours is textbook. She's the type of person who walks around with a clipboard and a measuring tape, ready to document any violation, real or imagined. She treats her HOA position like it's the Oval Office, constantly patrolling and citing people for things like garage doors left open to long or unsanctioned, wind chimes. Now, I've never had a personal issue with Karen until the Jeep incident. I served in the Army for 12 years and now work as a federal contractor with a law enforcement task force. My job deals with vehicle logistics for field surveillance and recovery. That means from time to time, I bring home unmarked agency vehicles for staging or overnight security before operations. These are government assets, often modified for field use, and they are not to be tampered with under any circumstances. One Wednesday evening, I brought home a matte black Jeep, no decals. It's bulletproof glass, surveillance gear installed, and reinforced undercarriage. I parked it in my own driveway, backed up close to my garage, and locked it down with a commercial-grade steel chain and padlock. Standard security, nothing flashy. It's a quiet neighborhood. What could go wrong? The next morning, I came out with my coffee and key in hand, and the Jeep was gone. At first, I thought maybe it had been relocated due to an op change, but I hadn't received any orders. Then I saw the broken lock, clean-cut, laying by the mailbox like someone had deliberately targeted it. That's when I saw her, Karen, standing across the street, hands on hips, wearing her signature navy blue blazer even at 8 a.m., looking smug as hell. I approached her, calmly but firmly. Karen, did you see a tow truck or anything last night? She didn't even hesitate. Yes, I had it removed. That military-looking vehicle was in violation of HOA aesthetics and posed a risk to neighborhood security. Your lock was also a safety hazard. I blinked. You had it removed? That vehicle belongs to the federal government. It was secured on private property. You had no right. She cut me off. It doesn't matter. You didn't get permission. You should have known better. HOA rules are clear. I walked away, my jaw clenched. Arguing with Karen was like arguing with a GPS that kept rerouting you into traffic. So instead, I made one call directly to our agency liaison. Jeeps. Been towed from my home? Lock was cut. No authorization, I reported. There was silence on the line for a beat, then a slow, you're kidding me. Within the hour, 3 unmarked black SUVs rolled into our cul-de-sac. The agents spread out. One started knocking on doors. Another was on the phone with the impound yard, and the third stood outside Karen's home waiting. She came out like she was the star of a press conference. Can I help you, gentlemen? Of the agents introduced himself and asked if she'd ordered the removal of a black Jeep from my property. She proudly said yes. As the HOA president, I have the authority to enforce regulations. She did not have that authority. Meanwhile, the second agent confirmed that the Jeep had been towed to a lot 20 minutes away. The tow company said, received the order from Karen L. HOA enforcement and were under the impression it was an abandoned civilian vehicle. They were horrified to learn it was a federal asset. Within minutes, the Jeep was released, but not before being examined for tampering. Here's the thing, that Jeep had encrypted tech, hidden surveillance features, and government tracking. Built into the frame, removing or damaging any part of it isn't just a mistake, it's a crime. And the broken lock. Yeah. That was government property too, totaling nearly $1,000 in value. The tampering was logged. Evidence was collected. Back at Karen's house, the agent calmly explained the gravity of what she'd done. She went from smug to pale in under 60 seconds. "I didn't know it was a federal vehicle," she insisted. "No one told me." Reminded her, right there in front of everyone, that I had mentioned it was government-issued the week before, when she left a passive-aggressive note about the Jeep being unsightly. I told her it was authorized and temporary. She tried to spin it. Well, the board didn't approve it. The agent replied, "You don't need HOA board approval to park a government vehicle on private property, and you certainly don't have the authority to remove it." The HOA board was notified, and they were not on her side. Turns out this wasn't Karen's first power trip. She'd previously tried to have a neighbor fined for painting his shed without official HOA color matching, even though no such rule existed. Another family got warned for letting their kids draw chalk art on the sidewalk. That same week, the HOA board held an emergency meeting. Karen was suspended indefinitely. The board cited gross misuse of authority and unauthorized enforcement actions. She wasn't just removed, she was banned from initiating any HOA said contact with neighbors going forward. But it didn't end there. The federal agency filed a formal complaint against her. For tampering with government property, she was hit with a citation, forced to reimburse the government for the lock, and received a cease and desist letter that legally barred her from interfering with federal personnel or property again. One more step out of line, and she'd be looking at federal charges. A week later, I brought the same Jeep home for a new rotation, parked it in the same driveway. New lock, bigger chain, and a bright orange sticker on the windshield. Federal. Vehicle do not touch. U.S. Code Title 18, Section 641. Karen peeked through her blinds the whole time. She didn't say a word. Over the next few days, something changed. Neighbors started stopping by, some bringing coffee, others just thanking. Me, one said, "We've been dealing with her for years. Glad someone finally stood up to her." Another joked that I should run for HOA president. I just smiled. I wasn't looking for power. I just wanted to be left alone, like most of us do. To take care of my family, do my job, and not have to worry about a self-appointed dictator making up rules. Karen, once the loudest voice on the street, became a ghost in her own neighborhood. She lost her seat, her sway, and most importantly, her illusion of control, and all it took was trying to steal a Jeep she had no business touching.